you're aware of not being home, I haven't been able to pick up that as a hard copy, and I didn't get sent anything via email, so I couldn't print off the transfers.
Okay. All right, why don't we start with the DPW, Brian?
Yep.
Okay. So, let's start with the first request I've got here, which is to transfer from highway materials and supplies to the vehicle fuel account, $20,000. I've got a couple of questions about that, Brian.
Yep.
One is that you've currently got almost $10,000 in the vehicle fuel account. Was at the end of May, beginning of the month.
No, it's negative 12,000 right now.
It's negative 12,000?
Yeah.
So we went through $21,000 worth of fuel since the end of May?
I filled the diesel tank, which was close to 9,000 by itself. And honestly, I need to do it again, so I'll probably see in another 2 weeks to move some more money. I paid today, and that was another $6,000 in just gasoline today.
Okay. The other question I've got is, I've got highway materials. The balance of $14,404 at the end of May. We can't move $20,000 out of that account.
Did Joanne not give you the corrected sheet? Because we were moving 5,000 out of one and 15,000 out of the other, I thought. And then we had it so we could move the money. Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
If we're going to need to make another adjustment within the next couple of weeks prior to the end of the year, can we just do it all for this account at one time, or should we do some now and do some in a couple of weeks?
I didn't hear that. I did not hear that we had to do another one. I thought this was going to cover the next fill up.
No, because fuel is so volatile right now. I can't. I'm trying to stretch what I have right now, which I don't think is going to work, because of increased ambulance calls and just general work for the DPW. When I checked last week, I had about a quarter to half a tank of diesel fuel, and I don't like I don't like getting down that low. So I'm almost gonna want to fill it again, because you start getting the water and everything else that's in the bottom of the tank is no good.
So if we're transferring 20,000, you're 12,000 in the hole. You still have 8,000 to fill the tank, or to partially fill the tank, don't you?
Oh, because I paid $6,000 today, Mo.
Oh, okay.
In gas today.
In gas, not in diesel.
Correct. So for my account, it doesn't matter whether it's gas or diesel. It comes
No,
out
but
of fuel.
Yeah, but it's good to know that you have two different types. Thank you.
Yep.
So did you find the correction, Tom?
No, I'm looking at
Tom,
yeah.
I looked at the highway materials today when I was paying invoices, and as of today, I had 27,000 in that account. I freed up a bunch of POs that were tied up for no reason.
Well, I've got an encumbrance of $32,614.
So that report,
an unused amount of $14,404.
So that report was printed before I freed up the POs. Otherwise, Joanne would have never assigned that sheet. She's a stickler to make sure that the money's available.
Yeah. I'm trying to be a stickler too.
Right. So
The
that,
data I have doesn't show me where that money's available. That's why I'm asking the question.
right.
I'm wondering, I'm thinking that Doug's suggestion is a good one, that we just put this off until our July meeting. We're gonna have to do
Yeah.
transfers in July,
Yep.
and we'll have end of the year, year-to-date reports. So, we'll have final year-to-date reports by the end of the year.
Will that
Well,
work for you, Brian?
Yeah, no, it's just the account's gonna show the negative, and to be honest, I'm gonna have gas from the month of June, plus the diesel that I need to put into the tank, whether I can find the money in my whole collective budget to fill it again, or I take the hit on July 1st and fill it. I'd rather fill it now and start July 1st off with a full tank, so let me play with the money and let's just pass over this one for now.
Okay,
Do you need a motion, Tom, to pass over until July, our meeting in July?
I don't think so. I think that, if it makes everybody a little more comfortable, that's fine. But these are requests, and if we
Yeah.
haven't get the right information, there's another opportunity for the request.
Okay,
And I agree with the concept, Brian, of making sure your tanks are full. That makes sense, although with the cost of gasoline and diesel right now, you don't know if by the end of the summer, you might have been better off, them half full if prices drop. That said,
I'm just not convinced it's gonna,
right, you're the guy that's gonna make that decision.
yeah, I'm not convinced it's gonna drop at all.
Yeah. All right, so
on
let's hold on.
Marketplace, Brian, there was a couple of draft horses for sale.
Okay. The next one I've got is transferring from dam inspection to vehicle maintenance, $5,000. Right now, the dam inspection has the full $12,000 that it was originally budgeted for. And there is a balance of $4,300 in vehicle maintenance supplies. So you're anticipating that you'd need something more than that $4,300 by the end of the year.
So that 4,300 is not an actual number. That one's in the hole about 1,200 right now. And, for complete transparency, they blew our rear end in a 2018 Mack that's gonna run us about 10,000 that's out for repairs right now. So I'm gonna be transferring additional funds into that to get that taken care of.
So you're gonna need another transfer into that account?
Yep.
Now, you've got $12,000 available under dam inspections.
Right, that won't be paying dams. I don't have to expend any money in dams right now, so
Yeah,
that'll float between vehicle maintenance and fuel, whatever's needed.
okay. So if we approve this, the balance there would be $7,000.
Correct.
And what you're saying is you would probably come back in July with a request to transfer that $7,000 into one of those accounts.
Correct.
Okay. What's the deal with the dam inspections? Are we required to do that by the state?
Yeah, that's a DEP, mandated inspection. This year was kind of an off year, but next year I'm back on the hook. So, we're trying to get it rectified, and I'm trying to get some of the dams off of high hazard so that they're not inspected as frequently. And we're currently working on the design right now for Whitney Pond Dam, which is a high hazard dam, that we have for like 380,000 sitting in an account. That's currently out for design so that we can seek grant funds for repair. Once that's repaired, then it won't be a high hazard and we won't have to inspect each time.
Okay. So I'd entertain a motion then,
I make a motion to approve 5,000 transfer from dam inspection account to the vehicle maintenance account.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, seconded, Bob. Okay, all in favor, get some mutes there, Adrian, Chuck?
Aye.
Dick?
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, and the chair votes aye. So record that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 0. Okay, the next one is the cemetery laborer. Moving money out of the highway operator account, which currently has $48,313. And the request is to move $996 to the cemetery labor account, which currently has a balance of $4,700. Do you feel that that's not gonna cover the salary through?
No, so I run a spreadsheet and I project out all my balances for, labor, and it's gonna be short by that amount.
Okay,
I'll make a
Any
motion
questions?
to approve a transfer from highway operations to cemetery labor in the amount of $996.
Second.
for a second, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Who is
opposed?
Who is the second, Bob?
Was that?
Who is the
Doug.
second? Doug, thank you.
All right. So that's approved. Chair votes aye, 6 to 0. All right, the second one is, the next one is cemetery overtime. And although there's a little confusion there, I think the account number is for the summer help, 035. I think you wanted 513,000 for overtime. So,
Yeah, well, it depends which form you're looking at, because I'm looking to put some additional, I believe I was looking to put some additional in cemetery overtime, because the flags have been killing me, and the amount of, Friday and Saturday burials have increased drastically.
all right, so you've got cemetery overtime, to move $1,000 out of the highway,
Yeah.
but account, which we just took out $996. We currently have a balance of $2,200 in that overtime account.
Right, and and prior to that report, they did flags on the holiday, which cost me a significant amount of money, as well as, they had a Friday burial after hours, so I had to pay 2 guys. So if not all the money's used, it's gonna go back to the general fund anyways. I'm just trying to have an insurance policy because I can't predict funerals on a Friday or Saturday, and
Fair enough.
people need to get one in the ground, so.
Yeah. Got it.
Make a motion to approve the $1,000 from highway operations to cemetery overtime.
Second.
Second by Chuck. Any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we'll record that as a 6-0 vote. The next one has to do with the executive secretary, looking to transfer from highway operators, which had a balance of $47,313, $13,129. And I'm assuming this has to do with the transfer of your executive secretary
Twice.
twice.
Yep, 100%. There was some cross training with Taylor and Brittany that's in there now, and then prior to that was Carlene leaving, and then Taylor filling in. But while Taylor was still transitioning, we had Shelley work extra hours. So this is what we end up with in the end. I went through and made all the calculations, and this should make it so it's level funded.
The account currently shows a negative almost $3,900.
I bet it does.
Yeah. Any questions for Brian? Right.
Make a motion to approve a $13,129 transfer from highway operations to executive secretary.
Right, and 52 cents.
Fine, 52 cents.
Second.
You probably could have walked up and down the street and found that 52 cents.
They're in Canada and I'm here, so I couldn't.
All right, moved and seconded by Chuck. All in favor of the transfer, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Right, hearing none. Record that as a 6-0 vote. We got two from the transfer station. First one is from, they're both out of transfer recycling, which has a balance of $19,061. First is for overtime, transfer overtime. Currently, it's got a negative $483 balance, and Brian's looking for $500 to even that up.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Brian, is there any reason that's over so much?
COVID?
Okay. That was sense. Moved and seconded by Chuck. And any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, chair votes aye. And the second one from the recycling transfer is for the transfer station foreman. Currently has a balance of $2,520, and Brian's looking to transfer $4,725 to that account.
So moved.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Brian, is any comments as to why there was the shortfall in that budget?
Yeah, so I fixed that budget in fiscal '23. That budget was not correct because the transfer station from June to September is open till 7 p.m. on Thursdays, and it wasn't reflective in that budget that previous to my tenure, that was paid out of the highway operator account, and I feel that if the person's working down at the landfill, it should come out of the foreman account, and it should be expended to the foreman. So it should be corrected in fiscal '23 in the transfer budget. That's why there was a large increase in '23.
I agree. It should be, if it's a enterprise fund cost, it should be in that budget. Right, do I hear a motion?
Did, you got it already.
You did. And Chuck, you got the second?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, the chair votes aye. So Brian, we're just putting that first request, picking it up to the next meeting.
Yep, well, we can fix that in July. I don't have an
Yeah.
issue, because then we only do it once.
Yeah,
July 12th, right?
If that's what you
Yeah.
tell me, I'll be there.
12th, 13th? Second Tuesday. 12th.
Thank you.
All right, Tom, why don't we do the fire department requests?
Okay.
Keep myself organized here. There's four transfer requests, from various accounts, all for overtime. So you take them one at a time, but for me, the overall question is, they add up to $18,500. There's, but $9,000, I think, in the budget right now, or there was at the end of May. And over the course of the year, there was $26,000 in transfers into overtime. So we started off with 130,000. We added 26 over the course of the year, last few months. And now we need another 18.5. So I guess the question is, what's driving the overtime?
No, absolutely, and certainly a good question. Currently, right now, that account isn't negative after the last payroll. It's negative 5,000, 5412 after the last payroll. However, the number of driving factors throughout the year. We started out, we had a firefighter medic out injured. He was injured on duty, so he was out from July through mid-March. He had a shoulder basic reconstruction, basically. So he did come back in mid-March. We had a back injury. We currently have what spiked it recently is we've got one firefighter out right now. She's out with a surgery, non-work related, but she's still out with using benefit time and her shift's sick time. We did have a unexpected retirement in October of a full-time firefighter medic. Just recently, we had a unexpected resignation of one of our firefighter medics. So that compiled with having a member out on paternity leave, and our sick time usage was up a little bit this year. And quite frankly, that was something that as they going through the pandemic, if they had COVID symptoms, whether they were testing positive or not testing positive at that point, I told them to stay home. We just couldn't afford to have the whole department come down sick, whether it was positive or a false negative, a false positive. Sick was sick at that point, and we had a number of symptoms on that. And looking back to the other thing that's driving it is a lot of our per diem employees right now over the last few months haven't been taking as many shifts because they work for other fire departments. Most of our per diem medics come from another agency and work shifts here. However, they're being forced at their place of employment because their place of employment is short with a lot of open shifts. And it's one big snowball across the industry, honestly. It's something that we kind of saw some of it coming in mid-year when I did come and speak to you guys briefly. We put a halt on some of the spending in some of these accounts that we felt that we could try to reel back as much as we could, knowing that this account could be short come the end of the year. And that's why we don't have to come to you at this point for transfers out of your reserves. We've been able to keep this within the fire department finances. And even after these transfers, we'll still have some accounts that are giving money back to the general fund. So with everything that's gone on as far as this account, and I feel that being able to keep it within has actually been quite a feat. It's something that we were a little unsure of midway through when we talked earlier this year. So that's basically what's driven the actual overtime adjustments.
Yeah, I was, a couple of things that, when I was looking through the transfers that took place during the course of the year, one of them was from the holiday pay. It's like $7,000. I guess I was surprised that there'd be money available in that line item. Given that it's a pretty specific number of holidays, pretty specific number of guys.
Yes. One of the things that we found with that account, and we've since corrected it, hopefully it'll be corrected for next year, is that we had a lieutenant that retired. He was being paid holiday pay at a higher rate. The person that filled in was not paid holiday pay due to the fact he was not a full-time firefighter according to contract. So we also had members that instead of working the holiday, they took time off. So when you add all that up, that adjusts to that. And we've since changed as we're hiring new employees. They're coming in at a lower rate. So it does adjust that account some. But that'll be the reason this year that we had it, as far as that goes on the holiday account.
The other account that kind of surprised a little bit is the call firefighters. We just don't have them.
We've had a reduction in what we have for call firefighters, but quite honestly, this account is, I think, in this budget, shows a little higher number than it will in the future. We've been having some COVID funds and some FEMA funds be used for having a fourth person on, which has increased ambulance revenue in that. However, what we have noticed is that sometimes now your engine's right out the door immediately, which is great, and that's what we should be doing. But you're out the door with a full crew, and some of the call firefighters, unless it's a necessary call, they don't want to come out and either get up in the middle of the night, or they don't want to come out and waste the town's money by them just driving to the station and sitting there to get paid. So that has made a big difference, along with the fact that there is a nationwide a call firefighter shortage. That you can see that in most departments that are very much struggling to get call firefighters trained and then responding.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So first,
one
yep.
question. So when you train your call firefighters, do they go through that 240 hours of training from the state?
What we've done is there's many different ways to train the call firefighters. We've had some that do go to the Call Vol Fire Academy in Stowe. There was quite a stall in that academy just due to the fact that with COVID, they weren't doing a lot of the in-person academies sometimes with the call side. We've had some that have gone to Westminster. They've done a call firefighter academy. And we've had some firefighters that due to their work schedules, these academies don't fit in. So they just don't fit into those academies. So what we've tried to do with them is we mirror the course, the fire academy course. We have the tests, we have a lot of the training abilities, and we've had Deputy Vane set up a training committee we kind of mirror our drills and our abilities to train them to these tasks that they have to do at the fire academy. So anytime after they're done their trainings throughout, whether it's with us, with Westminster, they can go challenge the test at the state level. However, they've been able to do it a little bit more around their schedule than the fire academy itself. They basically, if you're not there, the academy starts at 5. If you're not there at 5, it's a demerit, and you get only a very few. And with today's work schedules, a lot of the members, if they work a second shift or that, aren't really able to do that. So we try to do the next best thing and train them in-house when we can. We got a lot of members that come in during the daytime. Call members will come in to work on the air packs with the full-time guys. They'll come in on weekends if they're off and work on hose handling and work on entanglement props. So we've done a good job in-house, and if we can send them out, we do. And if we can't, we train them to what they need in-house.
All right, let me start walking through the requests. First one I have here is from the Fire Department subscriptions, which has a balance of $2,789 into the overtime account. The request is for $2,000 of that balance.
Hey, Tom, can we move since they're all going to the same account, can we move them together, or do we need to do them individually?
We need to do them individually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll move that one.
Yep, okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Chuck?
Bob.
Oh, Bob, sorry, okay.
Mr. Kane, I've been reminded that because we're on Zoom, we actually need to do roll call votes.
Okay, well, we will do that then, from here on out. Any other questions or discussion? All right, hearing none. Dr. Ward?
Aye.
Mr. Delay?
Aye.
Mr. Quartz?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez? Adrian?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so.
Miss Bobby.
Oh, and Bobby.
Aye.
On my screen, Bob, you're down at the bottom. And then two next to you are invisible. All right, so that was approved 6-0. The second one is from ambulance dues, which has a balance of $4,066 right now. Request to move $2,000 into the overtime account.
Move to approve.
All right, move to approve. We get a second?
Second.
All right. Is that
Doug.
Bob moved and Doug
And
seconded?
Doug second, yeah.
Okay. All right, any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, take a vote. Dr. Ward?
Aye.
Mr. Delay?
Aye.
Mr. Quartz?
Aye.
Mr. Guerrero?
Aye.
Mr. O'Keefe?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Whose dog is voting to approve?
Two votes from Adrian. The next one is from the ambulance EMTs that has a balance of $9,425. And the request is for $9,000 to be transferred into overtime. Your motion? All right. Motion to approve for Bob. Second from?
Second,
Second from Mo.
yeah.
Quick question, Tom. Why is it none of that money been spent all year?
The majority of that.
What is that for?
Majority of that is the call EMTs that come back. They get paid on a per call basis. However, again, we've had minimal necessary for them to come back because the ambulance again has been right out the door with 4 people on fairly quickly. A lot of the call EMTs were picking up shifts. So that would be coming out of a spare account versus coming out of the ambulance EMTs account at that point, because they were doing a dual role with the firefighter EMTs. So it's kind of a, good?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so that is a salary account.
Yes,
for EMTs, so,
yes.
all right. Thank you. All right, we've got a motion and a second. Dr. Ward,
Aye.
Mr. Delay,
Aye.
Quartz,
Aye.
Mr. Guerrero,
Aye.
Mr. O'Keefe,
Aye.
the chair votes aye. And lastly, from Fire Department Building Repairs, which currently has a balance of $9,079. Request is to transfer $5,500 into the overtime account.
Motion to approve?
Doug?
Motion to approve from Doug. And a
Second.
By Mo. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. Dr. Ward,
Aye.
Mr. Delay,
Aye.
Mr. Quartz,
Aye.
Mr. Guerrero,
Aye.
Mr. O'Keefe,
Aye.
the chair votes aye. All right. Let's just do the Fire Department.
Thank you.
And next bunch are various town hall accounts. First one we've got here is the Civil Defense Planning Agent, or transfer from the Civil Defense Planning Agent to the Conservation Agent. The planning agent has account has a balance of $24,234. The request, currently there was nothing budgeted for the conservation agent, so we got a negative account of $3,200, and a request to transfer $5,159.30. Justin?
Yes, sir. So, about halfway through the year, we had a little bit of a restructuring, or just prior to that. So, in the planning and development office, the planner and conservation agent were a combined role as one individual, and on the departure of Ms. Manoujian, we looked at our existing assets in terms of personnel and determined restructuring would be the best fit for the town. And so in doing so, we broke out the conservation agent as a part-time role. But when the budget was built, there wasn't an individual standalone account for that. We also added a part-time clerical role as well, just to serve the planning and development department in general, as well as the Board of Health.
Right, and so the Civil Defense Planning Agent position isn't there anymore.
That is correct.
Right. Entertain a motion to transfer $5,159.30 from the agent's account to the conservation agent account.
30 cents is important.
Yeah.
Second.
Thank you.
Moved by Mo and second by Chuck. And take a roll call vote. Dr. Ward,
Aye.
Mr. Delay,
Aye.
Mr. Quartz,
Aye.
Mr. Guerrero,
Aye.
Mr. O'Keefe,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye.
I'm disappointed Adrian's dogs aren't too happy with this one.
No.
The next request is for the Collector and Treasurer's Office, Department Head account, to transfer from the Monty Tech assessment that currently has a balance of $80,111. I think that's a solid number for the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And the amount to be transferred is $2,950 to cover vacant position. I'm assuming this has to do with the that department head leaving and somebody filling in.
That is correct. So the Monty Tech assessment in terms of the source itself is based on a projection when we're doing our budget for the year. But realistically, if they're, which I assume was the case here, you know, one fewer student even could swing the amount that we end up actually getting billed.
Right.
And so there's a remainder there. In terms of the treasurer's office, there was a departure in the treasurer role, and we had to pay them out for their vacation. But in addition, pick up somebody in a part-time capacity whose rate was slightly higher than the individual we had in place at the start of the year. So that resulted in a little bit of a gap. And we're currently in the process of setting up interviews next week. A couple good candidates for the treasurer position. But I anticipate we'll be able to limp through the rest of the fiscal year with the day that we provided this evening, and then that new individual one likely wouldn't start until fiscal year 23.
Great. Any other questions or discussion?
Just clarification, Money Tech also used some of their COVID and ESSER funds to try to cut back on what they had to bill each of the communities for tuitions because they felt that everyone was struggling.
Good.
I
I just wanted to make sure we didn't have another payment out there, because I was surprised to see that the state still has a payment.
That's right.
For us. I thought they did them quarterly. So they break them out differently. All right.
Somebody
so we
can't
got-
know what the quarter is. So moved.
Yeah. All right.
Second.
Moved by Mo and seconded by Chuck. Take a roll call vote.
Aye.
Dr. Ward? Mr.
Aye.
DeLay? Mr. Coates?
Aye.
Mr. Guerrero?
Aye.
Mr. O'Keefe?
aye,
And the chair votes aye. So the next one is for the data processing software support. A request for $5,500. Again, coming out of the what's now $77,161 in the Monty Tech assessment. The current balance is a negative $2,334. And it's got to do with the clear government invoice.
5,000 even?
5,500.
Thank you. So
Is
moved.
that something that wasn't budgeted for?
If
Justin?
it's, and I apologize, I don't have the sheet in front of me, but if it's the one I'm thinking of, there was an issue with our existing security, with Kaspersky, I believe, and there was an advisement that came down from the federal government that there's a potential that there could be some vulnerabilities around the time that Russia invaded Ukraine. And so at that time, we bailed out of our existing security and had to pay for another security firm that was a unbudgeted expense several months ago.
Thank you. I hear a motion.
I did.
Second.
Made a motion and Chuck seconded it. All right, we'll take a roll call vote. Dr. Ward,
Aye.
Mr. DeLay,
Aye.
all right, Mr. Coates,
Aye.
Guerrero,
Aye.
Mr. O'Keefe,
aye,
the chair votes aye. And the last one I've got is transfer from civil defense certification to civil defense miscellaneous.
I have a question, Tom.
Sure.
A couple transfers back, the verbiage you used was civil defense planning to conservation agent. And I'm looking at the munis codes being different, and I'm wondering if that was an error that one in the past wasn't civil defense, but community development planning agent.
This is civil defense vacation.
I understand that, Mo. I'm talking about a couple transfers back.
Yeah,
Leaving
that would be.
money
would be,
from-
Civil defense. The
when I have a
planning,
CD
conservation?
CD planning agent, let me just double check the.
Yeah, I'm thinking that CD there can't be civil defense. That must be community development.
It is community development.
Thank you.
There is civil defense funds, but that's through the Board of Health. It supplements the Board of Health office.
So that other one was community development planning to the conservation agent?
Correct.
Yes,
Thank you. Okay.
that's my error, because it's clearly the code number. It says CD directed salary, but it's the community development line items, personnel. So that was my
Good catch,
error.
Bobby.
Well, that's all right. When I see numbers I get, words I may not. So thank you.
Thank you.
How much was that transfer request?
It was, 5,159, the one that Bob was talking about?
No, the one you're talking about now, you didn't
The
finish it.
current one is $200.
200?
Yeah. That's the balance of the civil defense certification line item. Currently, the miscellaneous item has a negative $130,000. So this would cover that $130,000.
130,000 or
I'm sorry,
$130?
$130.
I was gonna say, the math doesn't check out there, but I'm not gonna question the chair of FinCom.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Bobby. All right, Dr. Ward,
Aye.
Mr. Delay,
Aye.
Mr. Coates,
Aye.
Mr. Guerrero,
Aye.
Mr. O'Keefe,
Aye.
and the chair votes
This
aye.
your new strategy totally confused us, so we don't know what the heck we're voting on?
So that concludes that item on the agenda. We just have that one request from Brian that we'll deal with in, when we have a little more information about fuel and current costs of what's been spent, particularly if we're gonna need to add some more to that account. So I appreciate the department heads for coming back this week after you came last week and had to call the meeting off for you. Fortunately, you're sitting in the comfort of your own homes and didn't have to travel all the way into town hall. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Hey,
So
Tom,
last thing is, yes.
if you find some extra money, I'll take it in my accounts.
The way he's going, you never know what he's gonna find.
That's why I figured I'd throw it out there.
All right, year to date. I had a couple of questions. I had a chance to talk to Joanne today. Under the revenues, I had a question about the cannabis revenue. Because there's impact and there's sales. And impact is money that is, I think it was an agreement between the town and the vendor. That 3% of their, yeah, 3% of their sales would go to the town to cover impact. Now, there's some question about what the town has to document to show that there's actually that much impact being made, or cost, real cost. So certainly when they first opened some of these dispensaries, you read stories about police details, directed traffic, and things of that nature. There's also been a number of articles that basically saying that, again, the business people that are running the businesses are saying, wait a minute, if there's no cost, if we're not costing the town anything any more than a package store would be, why is this special thing? But right now, from what I understand, the company, the business has submitted the 3% impact payments to the town on their own. So that's what that money is in the under the cannabis revenue. So it doesn't reflect the percentage of the sales that the town will receive for total sales. That'll go through the state, and then the state will make the payment to the town.
So Mr. Chair, is the impact revenue, is that just the generosity of the company, or is that a state mandate?
When the laws was set up to run that, and jump in any time, Justin, it was assumed that there would be additional costs to the town, to many towns, having to do with traffic or any extra security or things of that nature. And they negotiated with the town to, I think, up to 3% of sales for impact. Now, the town is also supposed to document that money so that, and then, so that we can justify that 3%. And at this point in time, the business has just gone ahead and paid us 3%. If I get that right, Justin?
That is correct. So it was part of the host community agreement that they had put in place. But the Cannabis Control Commission with the Commonwealth has changed their position on this topic about every 6 months. And so at the time of the writing of the host community agreement, they did agree to the 3% excise and the 3% community impact fee. Since that agreement went into place, the state determined that the burden is on the municipality to provide some proof for whatever dollar figure you're claiming in terms of the impact of your community. Realistically, we'd be paying more in hourly salary of our staff to compile that report than what we could actually prove in terms of cost to the community. So in terms of why Bud Barn cut us a check for a community impact fee, I honestly do not know. And we have a call out to legal counsel to try to determine A, if we can accept it without proving the loss. B, if Bud Barn, if it is just an act of generosity and they intend to keep doing it, if we have an obligation to formalize that agreement in any capacity. And then C, what we should do with that money until we determine why we have it and what we can do with it. So, and that's part of the conversation I've had with Joanne, is to just keep it in that little side pot, keep it on ice. Let's figure out if we can actually keep this. And in the meantime, let's just, act on or operate on the assumption that we don't have it until we can determine that we're in the clear to accept it.
So what's your ETA for getting the answers to those questions?
I'd say within the next week or so.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Because it's better than $20,000.
Yeah.
So it's a considerable amount of money. That right now, just shows a positive for us.
But depending on whether we keep it or not would also reflect on the Bud Barn and how they declare it, whether it's a gift, whether it's a write-off, how they're going to use it. So we kind of need those answers for them as well.
Yeah. And it's the first go around for them too.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a learning curve for everybody. But the other one I asked her about was the personal property tax revenue. I don't know if you noticed, but it's up. It's $100,000 over budget, 21% over budget. And first, I assumed that that people were, when they're paying their personal property tax, they just figure the town's in tough shape, so they give a little more, and we actually collect more. And,
What are you smoking anyhow?
I've been down to the Bud Barn, so just kind of checking on the impact fee. No, but the explanation, I guess, is that last year, a lot of the bills went out late, like after July 1st. And so that money represents what we normally would get this year, plus some payments that came in after July 1st last year, which explains the increase. The real estate revenue is kind of surprised because 99.8 for the month to go seems high. Not that I'm complaining about it, but it again, unless they're giving a little extra, it's hard to believe that 100% of the town has paid their real estate tax. We've had good percentages the last several years, above 95%. So it could be, but it caught my eye. I don't know if anybody else has some questions about any of the year-to-dates. I did ask about the state aid because they're at like 92% paid. So there is one more payment coming. They must be paying by the month now instead of quarterly, which would explain that. The other thing I asked about was the sewer, on the enterprise funds, the sewer electrical bill, which is about $4,000 over budget, about 20%. It's the only agency or department in town that's over in electrical, so I wasn't sure why they would be over and the rest of us wouldn't. But she said she thinks it's got to do with the balance between the solar farm and National Grid. So estimating exactly what the solar farm is going to produce from one year to the next has an impact on how much they budget. They assume that they're going to get more money than they did and end up with less money than they spend more to National Grid than they would to the pay for the solar. That was the explanation I get. And I know that the chemicals, did we have a warrant? Was there a question on the warrant article to move that, use the ARPA money to cover that, right?
That is correct.
Right. So the ARPA money that we approved can be used this year to balance that out, right?
Yep.
It's not next year's.
Yeah,
it's not next year's budget. Right? Okay. So those are my questions. I don't know if anybody else had any questions about any of the year-to-dates. All right, hearing none. Anybody, any member comments?
I know we just got the management letter today, and I think that we need to maybe dedicate some of our next meeting to that letter, to the content and also to the timeliness or lack thereof of receiving it. If we could put that on the agenda for July, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. Justin, is any progress on I guess it's a quad department, committee meeting to address or review the audit report?
Correct. The quad board meeting on July 11th. So that has been established, and the management letter was distributed today. We did receive it in draft form probably back in March. But past precedent, at least from what I was able to determine, was that the draft form went through the audit committee would provide feedback to the auditing firm, and then they would finalize the document and distribute it. Dr.
That has not been past practice. The only thing the audit committee provides feedback on is the audit report. The management letter never comes in draft, it comes as a final copy.
Odd. Well, looks like they, Roselli broke from tradition this year.
Because the audit report is understandable in draft form because they may have missed something, some department may have evidence to prove contrary, and they want to make sure they do it correctly. But once they have that information, the management letter is not up for debate. It's what they found.
And typically the management letter comes out that what I recall is our manager typically would respond to any of the deficiencies of material deficiencies that were identified as to what the corrective action was going to be to improve that situation. And that gives you a touchstone for the next year to kind of go back and say, okay, what were the issues we were dealing with? And a number of the issues in that management report were repeats. So there's part of what I see as part of the audit committee's responsibility is kind of monitoring what we said we were going to do to make sure that we're improving that issue. I know we've talked a little bit about really the need for some structure, for the audit committee, and then I think for the capital planning committee as well. Because the turnover in those committees, you can have brand new committee from one year to the next, because you get a representative from 4 different boards and a citizen. So because of that, I think it's important that, one, they meet early. 2, they understand what their responsibilities are. 3, they set a calendar for themselves, and they're able to do their due diligence in a timely manner. And we wouldn't be here in July, finding out about our audit for FY21.
Usually the management letter is distributed the end of January, the 1st of February, so that you have it prior to budget season, so you know what to look for. We also used to do a spreadsheet with all the findings from 5 years past, so that you could say checked off, checked off, checked off. And it was really great to see, because I think our first spreadsheet was something like 7 pages long, and the school real significant deficiencies. And it's important that you see that they don't continue year after year. So when you get something like this, because even the members of our own different committees and boards change, it doesn't mean anything to them without having prior year.
Justin?
And just touch on what you said, Mr. Chair, because I do think the capital planning committee is a good parallel. And I think my largest hope between those two committees is that they be a little more autonomous. Now it's easier for capital planning. I can kind of put my weight behind that and push it along. But I tried to stay pretty arm's length from the audit committee because it's just not something that I care to interfere with. And I think to an extent they're auditing my work and the work of my staff. And so hopefully as time progresses and if we get more stability and consistency in that committee, my hope is that it will kind of be self-propelling. And it won't be a matter of, my office having to coordinate or kind of chase them down to get them back together again.
Well, in honesty, your office, you're right. It is arm's length because the sole purpose of the audit committee was to have a checks and balance, and it should not be through your office.
Mm-hmm. Right. But I think that certainly with some experience of people who had experience on these two committees, putting their heads together, could come up with what would be an idealistic, maybe not idealistic, but a practical calendar and set of tasks that have to be accomplished by the committees. If for no other reason than to orientate the new people to what the committees are all about.
And maybe that's a good word, Tom, is an orientation. And if the chairs of the current committees are agreeable to that orientation, maybe some past members could go and make some suggestions and give timelines and talk about what past experience was and what worked and what didn't, and what the charter says they must and must not do.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, I can talk a little bit about, well, it's the capital planning. I mean, the meeting that we attended back in April, late April, I communicated with one of the presenters after that, and they gave me a recommended timeline for all activities that relate to that planning department, and I can share those with Justin and with the rest of the committee, and hopefully, improve that process a little bit. I know it's new to most of us.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I mean, I think there's materials and there's some experience that you could put together a draft of what an orientation timeline would look like. Yeah.
And I'll reach out to Chris Casavan.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other good comments? Any public input? Rick? All right. So we're meeting again. We've got two meetings actually that week. We're meeting on Monday, the 11th for the audit report. And then we're meeting on Tuesday, the 12th, to really continue the process of addressing end of the year transfer requests.
I don't know if I will be back by then, but I'm hoping to.
Yeah, too.
Let's stop on the way back, Mo.
Depends on weather and what interesting things we see. And that I'm driving, not Rick.
You can skip all the history things.
Oh, please, thank you.
And I think there's a deadline for the ability to schedule Zoom meetings in mid-July.
15th.
15th?
15th?
Mhm.
Yeah. That's,
Okay.
so, we could do this by Zoom and include Bo in the meeting, particularly if she's not back yet. So why don't, before I post that meeting, we'll get some sense as to.
I will let you know where we're at, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Great.
So it's 4:38 here, so somebody else needs to make the motion. I think it must be 7:38 there.
7:38. Your motion to adjourn,
So
I'll
moved.
make, yeah.
seconded? Look, we need a roll call. vote
Lose,
for
you
that.
lose.
Second.
All right, thank you all. And we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Justin.